Have you ever wondered why nearly half of America's land feels completely empty? With over 330 million people living in the US, you'd expect every corner to be buzzing with activity, but that's not the case. Vast stretches of the country remain almost untouched, with some states so sparsely populated it's hard to believe people actually live there at all. Today we're diving deep into the 7 states where the emptiness is real, places that most Americans overlook, avoid, or simply don't want to live in. What's behind this emptiness? Stick around because what you'll discover might change how you see America forever. Number 7, West Virginia. Friends, let's start this list with a bang, or rather, a vanishing act. Because West Virginia isn't just empty, it's emptying fast. Since the 1950s, the mountain state has lost over 800,000 residents, and it's still losing people every single year. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, West Virginia is the fastest shrinking state in America. Between 2010 and 2020 alone, the population dropped by 3.8%, and another negative 0.4% loss was recorded in 2023. For a state that only has about 1.75 million residents, that's a serious blow. Now, why is this happening? One word: coal. West Virginia's economy was built on coal, but as demand declined due to environmental regulations, automation, and competition from cleaner energy, the industry collapsed. From 1985 to 2023, coal mining jobs dropped from over 100,000 to under 12,000. That's not a dip, that's a nosedive. But wait, there's more. The opioid crisis has ravaged this state like few others. In 2023, West Virginia had the highest opioid overdose death rate in the U.S., 81 deaths per 100,000 people, which is nearly 4 times the national average. Entire communities, especially in places like Huntington and Charleston, have been hollowed out not just physically, but emotionally. Add in a median household income of just $51,615, far below the national average of $74,580, and a lack of major cities, and you've got a recipe for mass departure. Rural counties like McDowell and Logan are losing over 10% of their populations per decade, turning once vibrant coal towns into modern ghost towns. Beautiful? Absolutely. Livable? For many, not anymore. Number 6, North Dakota. All right, buckle up, because North Dakota is a fascinating mix of oil booms, harsh weather, and more space than people know what to do with. With a population of about 780,000 people spread over 70,000 square miles, North Dakota has a population density of just 11.4 people per square mile. That makes it one of the most sparsely populated states in the lower 48. For context, that's more empty than Siberia in some regions. Now, a few years ago, North Dakota made headlines for the Bakken oil boom. Towns like Williston exploded almost overnight, with thousands of oil workers pouring in. At one point, the median rent for a 1-bedroom apartment in Williston hit $2,394 per month, more expensive than New York City. But booms don't last. As oil prices crashed post-2014 and automation increased, jobs vanished. Between 2015 and 2020, Williston's population declined by over 7%, and housing prices dropped by as much as 30%. And then there's the climate. Winter temperatures in towns like Minot and Grand Forks regularly plummet to minus 30 degrees Fahrenheit, with wind chills making it feel even colder. That's not cozy sweater weather, that's your car battery just gave up weather. On top of that, there's a severe rural healthcare crisis. Over 20 hospitals in rural areas have closed or cut services since 2010, and many counties are designated health professional shortage areas by the federal government. That means if you get sick in a rural town like Hettinger, you're probably driving a few hours just to see a doctor. Yes, it's peaceful. Yes, it's got beautiful prairies and some of the lowest crime rates in the country. But when young adults leave in droves, birth rates drop, and infrastructure ages, the state starts to feel abandoned. Number 5, Wyoming. Friends, if you're someone who hates traffic, loves solitude, and doesn't mind a little snow or a lot, then Wyoming might sound like heaven. But for the average American, it's a little too empty. Wyoming is the least populated state in the entire U.S., with just around 580,000 people living in a state nearly the size of the entire United Kingdom. That's over 97,000 square miles, which boils down to a mind-blowing 6 people per square mile. Some neighborhoods in Brooklyn have more people on one block than whole Wyoming counties. The biggest city, Cheyenne, barely scrapes 65,000 residents, and once you step outside of Cheyenne or Casper, you're in small towns like Rawlins, Buffalo, or Pinedale, many of which are losing people. According to the U.S. Census, over 40% of Wyoming's counties have experienced population decline since 2010. Now, one of Wyoming's biggest employers is the government. Between state employees and the federal presence via national parks and energy oversight, nearly half of the workforce depends on public jobs or fossil fuels. That's risky, especially as coal jobs have dropped 30% since 2015, and renewable energy begins to replace traditional sources. And let's not ignore the brutal winters, sub-zero temps, blizzards, and roads that vanish for weeks. I-80, a key highway, often shuts down for days during winter storms, so unless you're into ice fishing and windburned cheeks, you might struggle here. Bottom line, Wyoming is beautiful, wild, and rugged, but it's also a place where opportunity is shrinking, and many people have decided that wide open space just isn't worth the trade-off. Number 4, Montana. Now let's talk about Montana, the land of big skies, breathtaking mountains, and silence. So much silence. Montana covers 147,000 square miles, making it the 4th largest state by area, yet its population is just about 1.13 million. That equals a population density of only 7.6 people per square mile. To put that into perspective, Los Angeles County alone has over 9.8 million people in 1/10 the space. And sure, Montana looks amazing on Instagram, but behind those filters, real issues are driving people away or stopping them from ever moving in. Let's start with the economy. Agriculture still dominates, employing nearly 25% of the rural workforce, but it's volatile. Droughts, supply chain issues, and aging farm owners are turning agriculture into a risky game. And beyond farming, the next biggest industry is tourism, which only works in the summer months. Seasonal jobs make up nearly 18% of the workforce, leaving many Montanans underemployed in the off-season. Even in cities like Billings, Great Falls, or Helena, wages are low. The median household income in Montana is just $63,249, nearly $11,000 below the national average. Rural towns like Havre, Glendive, and Miles City are facing youth flight. Between 2010 and 2020, more than 20 rural school districts closed, and several counties lost over 10% of their population. Why? Because young people are heading for bigger states with better tech, healthcare, and entertainment options. And the winters, oh man. Average temps can hit minus 20 degrees Fahrenheit, and snowstorms can last for days. Add in a healthcare access crisis, Montana has one of the lowest ratios of primary care physicians per capita, and you've got a gorgeous state that feels pretty deserted. Number 3, Nevada. Nevada might ring a bell for the bright lights of Las Vegas, but beyond that glittering strip lies a vast expanse of emptiness. With about 3.1 million people scattered across 110,500 square miles, Nevada's overall population density clocks in at a mere 28 people per square mile. But that number hides a big truth. More than 85% of Nevada's land is owned by the federal government, including massive stretches of desert, mountains, and military bases, making much of the state literally off-limits for development or settlement. Outside urban centers like Las Vegas and Reno, you'll find towns with populations in the hundreds or low thousands, such as Ely, Tonopah, and Carson City. In fact, most of Nevada's rural counties have seen stagnant or declining populations over the last decade, with places like Esmeralda County shrinking by over 15% since 2010. The economic story is a tale of two Nevadas, booming tourism and gaming in urban hubs, but limited opportunity in rural areas. While Vegas's glitz draws millions, it's the rest of Nevada that's struggling with high unemployment, limited healthcare access, and an education system that ranks near the bottom nationally. The rural parts face harsh desert climates, scorching summers topping 110 degrees Fahrenheit, and water scarcity, a growing concern that threatens future growth. The result: huge swaths of Nevada remain empty, with more sagebrush than people, making it a state of sharp contrast between crowded cities and vast, lonely wilderness. Number 2. Nebraska. Nebraska is often overlooked when talking about empty states, but it quietly ranks among the least densely populated, with around 1.9 million people spread across 77,000 square miles, resulting in about 25 people per square mile. The majority of Nebraskans live in just a handful of cities. Omaha and Lincoln together account for nearly half the population. Outside these urban hubs, Nebraska's vast plains give way to declining small towns and farming communities. According to census data, over 60% of Nebraska's counties have lost population since 2010, with rural counties like Garden County and Sioux County shrinking by more than 12%. Agriculture dominates the economy, with over 20% of the workforce in farming, ranching, or related industries, but modern farming's automation means fewer jobs and younger generations leaving for bigger cities or other states. This rural brain drain fuels school closures and shuttered businesses in towns like Chadron and Alliance. Harsh winters, flooding in the spring, and limited healthcare access compound the difficulties for rural residents. Nebraska also struggles with economic inequality. While cities have grown steadily, many rural areas face persistent poverty, with some counties reporting poverty rates over 20%. So while Nebraska may not look empty if you drive through Lincoln or Omaha, the vast rural landscape tells a different story, a slow, steady emptying of the heartland. Number 1. Alaska. You might have expected something different, but Alaska takes the crown as the emptiest state in America, hands down. With a whopping 663,000 square miles of wilderness, that's bigger than Texas, California, and Montana combined, Alaska is home to just 733,000 people. That works out to a staggering 1.2 people per square mile, the lowest population density of any state, and by a huge margin. Imagine an area so vast many communities are completely off the road grid, reachable only by plane or boat. This isolation isn't just inconvenient, it shapes every part of life. Groceries cost triple what they do elsewhere, housing is scarce, and healthcare access is limited. In remote places like Bethel or Barrow, Utqiagvik, a simple doctor's visit might mean a flight of hundreds of miles. Then there's the brutal climate. Winters bring weeks without sunlight, with temperatures plummeting to minus 50 degrees Fahrenheit or lower. That's not just cold, it's a way of life that many find too harsh to handle long-term. Add to that economic uncertainty. While oil and fishing industries dominate, oil production is in long-term decline, Prudhoe Bay's output is down over 75% from its peak, and jobs are scarce outside government and resource extraction. No wonder Alaska sees consistent population outflows, with many residents relocating to warmer, more connected states. For all its stunning beauty and rugged adventure, Alaska remains America's true frontier and emptiest state. That's why half of America stays so empty, a mix of tough conditions and economic challenges. If you learned something new, hit like and subscribe for more. Also, drop a comment and tell me, where are you watching from? I'd love to hear. Thanks for watching.